Hey everyone, it's Alex coming at you here to do another installment in the Acid Archives from Dom's thread. Yeah, been a real success. I think he's going to get over 100 entries here by the time the year's over, easily, I think. And this is what we're listening to now. Human Music. John Appleton, Don Cherry from 1970 on the Flying Dutchman label out of the US, label founded by Bob Thiel. And yeah, pretty unusual entry here in the Acid Archives. As for one, it's not a privately pressed, it's not acid rock or folk rock or psychedelic pop rock or anything like that. As you can hear, it's a pretty experimental record, and these are basically two of the largest figures in their respective fields, so hardly unknown names. Of course, Don Cherry, who came up with Ornette Coleman in the jazz world in the 60s, and moved to Europe and did all kinds of different records, heavily influenced by ethnographic sounds, other European musicians, and very much an experimenter and somebody that was willing to collaborate with anyone that he felt he would have synergy with. Turn it down a little bit. And John Appleton, who this is his 1969 debut, also on the Flying Dutchman label, who is arguably one of the most important American electronic artists, certainly of the 60s and 70s. Deeply influential. He was the inventor of the synclavier synthesizer. He was the head of the Dartmouth Electronic Music Center. He worked with similar groups in Sweden. There's John. So yeah, obviously, again, not necessarily a household name in music in general, but certainly within electronic music circles, a very influential artist for sure. Here's a record by Lars Gunnar Bodin, who is a Swedish electronic artist, who was also recording during the same time that John Appleton was, and very much cited by John Appleton as one of his biggest influences. There he is there. So another, early pioneer, and again, this guy out of Sweden. And yeah, John Appleton he spent a year in Sweden leading a electronic music group out there. I think it's called the EMS, that Lars was also a part of. And of course, most of John Appleton's records are actually on Folkways, which this is. I don't have any of those records, unfortunately. They're fairly hard to come by. But yeah, there's at least 4 records that sort of document John Appleton's work with his synclavier synthesizer, and those are all on Folkways. I'll also show this one to highlight, that John Cherry was not a stranger to, although this one is much after. This is 1977. This one that we're listening to is 1970, but yeah, Don Cherry would go on to, collaborate with the great French electronic musician, composer Jean Schwartz, and you kind of see the electronics here on the side. But yeah, again, combination of acoustic instruments and then processed in this case by Schwarz with his electronics. And that's exactly what human music is. It's basically Don Cherry playing a series of different instruments. Here, metal flutes, bamboo flutes, wood flutes, kalimbas, earthquake drums, cornet, his famous cornet, with traditional mouthpiece and with a bassoon reed as well. And then, this is before John Appleton had developed the synclavier. That wouldn't be till mid to late 70s. But here, I think it just lists synthesizer and the interaction of these two musicians is complemented by synthesizer configurations, which are programmed to respond to the different instruments played by Don Cherry. So there's some programming involved with the processing, and it's sort of interacting in real time with Don Cherry, and what I assume is mostly improvisations from Don Cherry. Let me see if I can find the Acid Archives. It's pretty brief here. Just says Human Music, 1970 on Flying Dutchman, Avant-Garde Electronics. The second LP was a collaboration with noted jazz musician, the first being this one. There was also a 1974 LP on Folkways with some overlap with the earlier LPs. John Appleton had several more releases that fall outside of the scope of the archives. So, again, I don't know why they make a distinction for that this one does, apply or qualify for the archives, but nonetheless, there it is. Musically, as you guys can hear, it's a very sparse, very textural. You got Don Cherry's percussion, his cornet, sometimes with the different reeds, getting different tones out of it. And then, the electronics, responding to Cherry and, bringing in obviously some of those, bleeps and bloops and different, textures that you hear throughout. I wouldn't say it's, Appleton's, best work or even Don Cherry's best work, certainly. Both hugely, prolific musicians. But I do think, very much like, Don Cherry's famous work for BYG, Mew, which is just him interacting with drummer and percussionist Ed Blackwell. You do get a lot of that that synergy here, that collaboration, that communication. It doesn't always work in all spots, but and this is my favorite track, which is the last one, which is called Bow. And all the track names are basically a permutation of BOA, of the letters BOA. So the first one is BOA, the second one is OBA, side 2 is ABO, and this is the last track, BAO. I was hoping the notes would tell me a little bit more about that, but so the copy that I have is actually, it's a US 1970 pressing, but it was exported to Japan, and then the insert was exchanged for a Japanese language insert. So unfortunately I cannot read the notes on here. I'm curious if anyone has it. Definitely let me know if you know the sort of the meaning of those three letters, BAO. Maybe it's something obvious that I'm just not thinking of. So hope you guys enjoy that. Definitely check out, I think most of the album is on YouTube. Don Cherry, John Appleton with Human Music. Be well, everybody.